Being single in your 20s is one of the greatest financial advantages you will ever have, and almost nobody is telling you that. What's up? I'm Leonidas, and I know what you might be expecting from a video with this title. Either a celebration of the single life, nights out, no obligations, total freedom, or some kind of lecture about how you should use your singlehood to grind 20 hours a day and never enjoy yourself. Neither of those is what this video is about. This video is about something quieter and more practical than either of those takes. It's about the fact that the specific financial conditions that exist when you are single in your 20s, and only when you are single in your 20s, represent a window of opportunity that most men either don't recognize while they're in it, or recognize too late to use it well. I want to make sure that doesn't happen to you. A few things up front. This video is not anti-relationship, not anti-marriage, not a manifesto for staying single forever. It is a clear-eyed look at the financial realities of a specific life stage and how to leverage them intelligently, the same way a farmer knows which season to plant and which season to harvest. This video is about understanding what season you're in and working with it instead of against it. And as always, nothing in this video is financial advice. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. This is educational content. Do your own research and consult a professional for decisions specific to your situation. Now, let's talk about the advantage you might not know you have. Here's the cultural message most young men receive about being single in their 20s. It's either a party, which implies it's not serious, not building anything, just killing time until real life begins. Or it's a problem to be solved. You're behind. You're missing out. You need to find someone to be a complete person. Both of those framings completely miss something important. They treat singlehood as either a celebration or a deficit. Neither one treats it as what it actually is, a structural condition that comes with specific financial properties. And those properties, if used intentionally, can put you years ahead of where you'd otherwise be. Let me give you the big picture context, because I think it matters. Your 20s, and specifically your single 20s, are structurally different from every other period of your financial life. And not in the way most people think. Most financial conversations focus on income. Earn more, invest more, retire richer. And income matters enormously, as we've covered in other videos. But there's a second dimension that gets almost no attention. Financial obligations. When you are single with no dependents, your financial obligations are almost entirely self-directed. Every dollar you earn is yours to allocate. Your rent is whatever you choose to pay. Your food costs are whatever you choose to spend. Your lifestyle is a variable you control completely. That condition, where you control the full equation, does not last forever. And when it ends, it often ends all at once. A relationship brings shared decisions. A home purchase brings a fixed obligation. Children bring costs that compound in ways nobody fully anticipates beforehand. Each of these transitions is a beautiful and meaningful part of life for many people. But each one also narrows your financial maneuverability, permanently, or at least for a very long time. I said this video was going to be lighter on data, and it will be. But I want to share one set of numbers because they make this concrete. The average cost of raising a child in the United States to age 18 is estimated by the USDA at over $300,000 before college. That is roughly $17,000 per year per child. The average wedding in the US costs around $30,000 and rising. Homeownership brings a mortgage, property taxes, insurance, and maintenance, often totaling 15 to 25% of household income for the first decade. None of these are reasons not to do those things. They are deeply meaningful to most people who pursue them, but they are significant financial commitments, and every dollar allocated to them is a dollar with a job assigned to it. When you are single in your 20s, none of those dollars have jobs yet. They are yours to direct, entirely, freely, strategically. The question is whether you are directing them or letting them disappear. Here is the mental model I want you to adopt after this video. Stop thinking about singlehood as something happening to you. Start thinking about it as a season you are in, with specific resources available during this season that will not be available later. A season has a duration. You don't know exactly how long yours will last, maybe 3 years, maybe 8, but it will end. And when it ends, the financial architecture of your life will look fundamentally different. The men who use this season well don't look back at their 20s and see wasted time. They look back and see the foundation they built when they had the maximum freedom to build it. There are 5 specific financial conditions that exist, or exist most powerfully, when you are single in your 20s. I'm calling them the 5 superpowers. Not because they're magic, because like any superpower, they're only useful if you know you have them and choose to use them. Let's go through them one by one. Number 1, low overhead. Right now, your fixed monthly expenses are almost certainly lower than they will be at any other point in your adult life. Your rent is just yours. Your food bill is just yours. There is no second person's expenses, no dependents' needs, no household that requires 2 incomes to sustain. This is the overhead advantage, and it is more powerful than it sounds. Low overhead means a higher percentage of your income can be directed toward wealth building. Not because you earn more, but because less of what you earn is already spoken for. A man earning $50,000 with $2,000 in monthly fixed expenses has $2,167 per month in theoretical surplus. That same man with a partner and a shared apartment might have $800 in surplus on the same income. Not because he's worse with money, but because the overhead doubled. The bachelor doesn't need to earn more to save more. He just needs to recognize that his current overhead is an asset and resist the temptation to inflate it unnecessarily before his financial foundation is built. Number 2, high risk tolerance. Here is something that every investment textbook gets right, but almost nobody applies to their actual life decisions. Your risk tolerance is not just a personality trait. It is a function of your obligations. The more people depend on your income, the less financial risk you can rationally afford to take. A man with no dependents, no mortgage, and low fixed costs can take financial risks that a man with a spouse, 2 kids, and a 15-year mortgage simply cannot. Not because the second man lacks courage, but because his downside is not his alone. When you are single in your 20s, the downside of a failed business, a risky career move, a relocating opportunity, or an investment that doesn't work out is absorbed almost entirely by you. You recover, you adjust, you go again. That is a rare condition, and it is the condition under which the highest leverage bets in your financial and professional life should be made. Starting a business, taking a commission-only role with a higher ceiling, moving to a city with better economic opportunity, investing more aggressively in equities rather than bonds, taking a pay cut for a role that builds a skill that will be worth far more in 5 years. These are all moves that are structurally easier and less dangerous when your downside is yours alone. Number 3, time sovereignty. When you are single with no children, your time outside of work is yours, fully, completely, without negotiation. You can work a side hustle until midnight without explaining it to anyone. You can take a Saturday course in a skill that doubles your income potential in 2 years. You can spend evenings building something, a portfolio, a business, a network, a craft, that you will not have the time or energy to build once your life belongs partly to other people. This is time sovereignty, and like all forms of sovereignty, you don't fully appreciate it until you've given some of it away. I'm not saying your future relationship will steal your time. What I'm saying is that time shared is time halved. A partner has preferences. A child has needs. A household has demands. These are beautiful things, but they come with an honest cost in the hours available to you. The bachelor has, conservatively, 20 to 30 more discretionary hours per week than the married man with children. That is an enormous compounding asset if directed toward income development, skill building, or side income. The man who uses those hours well before his obligations expand, who invests them in skills, certifications, businesses, and networks, arrives at the next stage of life with a materially stronger foundation. Number 4, geographic mobility. One of the most consistently underused financial advantages of the single life is mobility. You can live anywhere, move anywhere, take an opportunity in a different city, a different region, a different country, with nothing more than a conversation with yourself and a 30-day notice to your landlord. That is extraordinary, and almost nobody uses it. Income in the United States varies dramatically by geography. Software engineers in San Francisco earn more than double what the same engineers earn in rural states. Finance professionals in New York, construction workers in oil country, tradespeople in high-demand metro areas. In almost every field, there are geographic premium markets. Moving to them, even temporarily, can permanently alter your income trajectory. Beyond income, mobility allows you to reduce cost of living. A man earning $60,000 in a mid-tier city with $1,400 rent accumulates wealth faster than the same man earning $80,000 in a high-cost city with $3,000 rent. The math sometimes favors moving to a lower-cost market. The math sometimes favors moving to a higher-wage market. But the math is always better when you have the freedom to run it and act on what it says. Once a partner is established in a career, once children are in schools, once a community is rooted, mobility disappears as an option for most people. The window where you can make a geographic bet on yourself is the single years. Number 5, identity capital. The fifth superpower is the least talked about and possibly the most important. When you are single in your 20s, you have the time, the space, and the low stakes to figure out who you are, what you value, what you're capable of, what kind of man you want to be, without those questions being entangled with someone else's life. That sounds philosophical. It is. But it is also deeply practical. The man who enters a serious relationship without clarity about his values, his financial goals, and his direction in life is at a significant disadvantage. Not because relationships are bad, but because the negotiation of a shared life is dramatically harder when one or both people don't yet know what they want individually. Your single years are the time to build that clarity. Read seriously, work hard, fail at things, and learn from it. Build your physical and mental discipline. Develop your financial habits before they need to accommodate another person. The man who arrives at a serious relationship, having already built his financial foundation, his career direction, his physical health, and his character, that man brings something real to the partnership. He is not still figuring out basic adult infrastructure. He is ready for the next level. That is not just good for your financial life. It is good for the relationship itself. Having the advantage and using it are different things. Most men who have all 5 of those superpowers active simultaneously, low overhead, high risk tolerance, full-time sovereignty, mobility, and the space to build identity, don't use them. Not because they're lazy, because the same freedom that creates the advantage also creates specific temptations that drain it. Let me name 4 of them directly. The first trap is spending the bachelor dividend on lifestyle instead of assets. When you have low overhead and decent income, there is a significant temptation to raise your lifestyle to match what you can afford, not what you need. Nicer apartment, expensive car, high dining and entertainment budget, travel that's more about photos than experience. None of these are wrong in isolation. The problem is when the lifestyle expands to absorb the surplus before the surplus has a chance to compound. The bachelor window is not an invitation to live large. It is an invitation to build large. Those are different decisions, and they lead to completely different outcomes in 10 years. The second trap is spending money to perform status to other single men in your social circle. We covered this more deeply in the fake rich trap video, but it's worth naming here specifically because the bachelor social environment has its own particular version of it. Going out constantly, bottle service to keep up with the group, expensive clothing because everyone in your circle is competing, the car that signals you're doing well. When you are single and social, the pressure to perform financial status to your peer group is very real, and it is very expensive. The men who escape this trap are not the ones who never go out or never enjoy themselves. They are the ones who have decided what their money is for, and don't let the crowd make that decision for them. The third trap is the quietest one, spending the window without intention. Not overspending spectacularly, not making dramatic mistakes, just floating, working, spending, enjoying, and waking up one day to find that 5 years of the bachelor window have passed and the financial position looks almost identical to where it started. The bachelor advantage is not automatic, it is potential. Potential requires direction to become outcome. A man who drifts through his single 20s without a financial plan is not doing anything dramatically wrong, but he is squandering something that will not return. The window closes, whether you use it or not. The fourth trap is waiting to feel ready before starting, waiting until you make more money, waiting until you understand investing better, waiting until things calm down, waiting until you figure out what you want to do with your life. As we covered in the Systems Manifesto video, motivation is not a foundation. A system is. The bachelor window does not pause while you figure things out. It runs whether you're ready or not. The move is to start, imperfectly, with the income and knowledge you have today, and improve from there. The man who opens a Roth IRA and contributes $50 this month while he's still figuring things out is years ahead of the man who waits until he has clarity. Let me give you a concrete framework for using this season well. I'm calling it the Bachelor Protocol. It has 4 components, not 100, 4, and each one maps directly to one of the 5 superpowers we talked about. The overhead advantage is only an advantage if you keep it low. This means making deliberate housing decisions. Not necessarily living in the cheapest place possible, but not inflating housing costs unnecessarily to impress people who will not pay your mortgage for you. The benchmark, housing costs should stay below 30% of your take-home income. If you can get below 25, do it. Every percentage point below 30 that you can hold your housing costs is a percentage point of income that stays in your control. The gap between your income and your fixed costs is your wealth building capacity. Protect it aggressively. Automate your investment contributions before lifestyle can absorb the surplus. Run the system from the Systems Manifesto video on your current income right now, not on the income you'll have later. One specific habit worth building while your overhead is low. Practice living on less than you could. Not barely surviving, but deliberately not expanding your lifestyle to match every income increase. The man who earns $50,000 and lives like he earns 35 is building margin. The man who earns 50 and lives like he earns 50 is treading water. Build the habit of margin now. It will serve you when the expenses arrive that you did not plan for. Use your elevated risk tolerance while you have it. If you have been thinking about starting something, a service business, a freelance practice, a content channel, a skill that opens a higher paying career track, this is the time to start it. Not when it's safe, not when you have more money. Now, when the cost of failing is a setback you absorb alone, not a crisis that destabilizes a household. The same applies to career moves. If there is a role that pays significantly more but requires a risky jump, leaving your current company, relocating, changing industries, taking a commission-heavy structure, that move is most rational now. The expected value calculation of a risky career or business bet is simply different when you have no dependence. The math favors action in a way it will not always favor. You have more discretionary time right now than you will ever have again after life's major transitions. The question is what you do with it. Not every hour needs to be productive. Rest and enjoyment are not enemies of financial discipline. The man who burns himself out in his 20s is not building, he's depreciating. But the hours that could go toward building an income-generating skill, a professional network, a side business, or a body of work, those hours compound in ways that leisure hours simply don't. A specific challenge? Identify one skill that, if developed over the next 18 months, would measurably increase your income or career options. Then, dedicate a realistic number of hours per week to it. Not a heroic number, a sustainable one. 6 hours a week, 8 hours a week. Whatever you can protect and maintain consistently. 6 hours a week is over 300 hours a year. 300 hours of deliberate skill development compounded over 2 to 3 years is transformative. And you have those hours right now. The fourth component is the one that sounds the least urgent and matters the most. Build your financial foundation now, not because your life requires it today, because your future life will require it. And the earlier the foundation is built, the more it compounds before that demand arrives. Emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account, untouched. Build it now when the monthly expense number is low. The target is smaller and easier to reach than it will be later. Investment account, open it, automate it, and let it run. Your timeline is longer right now than it will be after major life milestones. That long timeline is one of the most valuable assets in compounding. Every year it runs before you need to draw on it is worth more than the last. Credit profile. Build a clean credit history now. Pay on time. Keep utilization low. Don't open accounts impulsively. When you eventually want a mortgage, a business loan, or any major financing, your credit profile will be a record of every decision you've made since you were 22. Make that record clean. Income trajectory. Make one serious career or income move each year. Not 10 moves, one. A negotiation, a skill acquired, a role change, a side income started. The cumulative effect of one meaningful income move per year over 5 to 7 years of the bachelor window is substantial. Let me paint you a picture of two men who start in the same place, both 23, both earning around $40,000 a year, both single, both with roughly the same advantages in front of them. Man A spends his bachelor years the way the environment trains him to. He rents a nice apartment to impress people. He eats out constantly. He keeps up with the group on weekends. He doesn't start investing because he doesn't earn enough yet, or so he tells himself. He doesn't take the risky career move because it feels too uncertain. He doesn't build the side skill because his evenings are already full. He has a good time. He isn't miserable. He just isn't building anything. Man B makes different choices with the same starting conditions. He keeps his housing costs low and automates $200 a month into a Roth IRA. He takes the commission-based sales role that terrifies him, and within 3 years is earning $65,000. He spends his evenings 2 years in a row building a professional certification that makes him competitive for a role he couldn't previously reach. He lives well. He goes out sometimes, but his money has a direction. 10 years later, both men are 33. Both have moved into serious relationships. Both are facing the next chapter. Man A is starting to build his financial foundation now, at 33, with the added complexity of shared expenses, a partner's financial situation, and the costs that come with a household. He is not behind in a catastrophic way, but he is starting something that Man B started 10 years ago. Man B has an emergency fund, an investment account that has been compounding for a decade, a career that is paying significantly more than his starting point, and a clear financial identity that he carries into the partnership. He arrives at the next chapter with a foundation already under his feet. Same starting line, same advantages available, completely different positions at 33. Here is the summary of everything we talked about today. Being single in your 20s is not a waiting room. It is not a consolation prize. It is a specific season of life that comes with 5 genuine financial superpowers: low overhead, high risk tolerance, time sovereignty, geographic mobility, and the space to build your identity without it being entangled with someone else's. Every one of those superpowers is most powerful right now and will diminish in various ways as your life expands into its next chapters. Not because the next chapters are worse, but because they come with their own demands. The men who use this season well don't become monks. They don't sacrifice every pleasure on the altar of financial discipline. They simply make sure their money has a direction and that the foundation is being built while building it is easiest. One thing I want you to do after this video: pick one of the 5 superpowers you feel like you're currently not using. Just one. If it's overhead, look at your fixed expenses this month and find one cut that goes straight to investments. If it's risk tolerance, name the one move you've been holding back on and decide whether the reasons are real or whether they're fear dressed up as caution. If it's time, identify the one skill that would move your income and calculate how many hours per week you could realistically commit to it. If it's mobility, honestly ask where your income would be highest and whether staying where you are is a real choice or a default. If it's identity, look at your daily habits and ask whether the man you're becoming matches the one you want to be. Pick one. Start there. Drop a comment and tell me which superpower you're working on. I genuinely read them, and the answers always give me content ideas for future videos. I'm Leonidas. Use the window.